passionate about it. Can you just share with all of us, why are you so concerned about this issue? Why does it touch you personally?
Thank you, Claire. I'm so passionate about eradicating violence against women and girls because I believe there are a lot of girls and women who are abused and violated across the world. And I have a story, and this is a story that made me realize, and I developed a passion for it after hearing it from someone close to me who is a friend and a sister. And this is a story. So there is actually this girl who at some point was staying with an uncle in a different town from her parents. And she was schooling there with them for some time. And the uncle took advantage of her from the age of 12 until to somewhere around when she was 17. The uncle abused her sexually most of the times. And it used to happen when she knocks off from school in the afternoons, because at that time, the aunt would not be around. And it went on for a number of years. And she had no one to share this story with. And she kept it until at some point when she had to go visit her mom in a different town again. And at that point, when time for schools opened, she refused to go back to the uncle's place. And it was at that point when she opened up to the mom about how the uncle has been taking advantage of her, and why she felt not so secure to go back and stay with her uncle. So, and after she shared everything with her mom, the thing her mom did was to ask her to be quiet and to be silent, never to share this with anyone, as it would bring confusion in the family and it would disturb the uncle's marriage. And that's how she kept quiet. And as we all know, her life was not normal like any other life. And she was holding up a lot of things, and she blamed herself for a lot of things. And that disturbed her school and just her well-being. It was hard for her to interact with people. So until at some point, that's how she shared with me. And at that point, that's when I realized that a number of girls and women are really being abused in our homes and everywhere. And most of them are even being abused by people who should protect them. And that's how my passion comes about. And I'm here to talk about it and just make sure that if there's any person who is silent out there, they can be heard. And it's after they are heard and they speak up that they'll begin to heal, because they can't keep everything to themselves.
Thank you so much, Nellie, for sharing that story. I do know that you had permission from your friend to share it today, and it really highlights the fact, isn't it, around the culture of silence that can pervade abuse and the stigma, as well. And as we've been talking, Nellie, there is violence against women is insidious. It goes across all different cultures, and one of the forms is street harassment. And in the last 2 weeks in the United Kingdom, we've had a horrific case of a young woman who was kidnapped and murdered just by walking down the street. And nearly every young girl I speak to has a story about feeling unsafe in a public space, whether that's in the UK or further afield. And can you just share a little bit about, have you experienced street harassment? What's your experience of it, Nellie?
Okay, I have a personal story on street harassment. And Claire, you're aware, and you know that I'm a runner. And I take running as a hobby, and it's something I enjoy doing. And I've developed a passion for it. And my preference time of running is before I go for work. So I prefer to run around 5, so that I have an hour to get back and prepare for work. So it happened late last year, when my day started. Usually I would leave home at 5 and come back around 6. So on that day, I started my journey, and I had kilometers. I had my personal goal to meet on that day. And just before I could cover like a kilometer, because I ran on the roads, at least the terrain is clear, and it's a bit clear just to run where it's wide enough and very visible. So on that day, I started my run as usual, full of energy and excited about covering my kilometers for the day. And at that point, when I started running, I realized there was a vehicle, because it's just on the side of the road, and vehicles would come and just everyone minds their own business on the road. And I took it like that on that day until I saw this vehicle that pulled over because I was running and they were driving, were heading the same direction. And when that vehicle pulled over, they greeted me. And just for polite sake, I retained the greeting and went about my business. But that did not end there. Apparently on that vehicle, I think there were 2 or 3 men, wherever they were coming from and where they were going, I didn't know. And they started following me. And I became a bit of an uneasy, but I still continued with my business until they pulled over. They had to cross the road and come to the lane where I was. And they were asking me to join them on the vehicle. And at that point, I don't know what I was thinking. And it was too early and there weren't any people coming. And it was just me and that vehicle, those men on that car. And I don't know, I still don't remember what happened, but I continued running. Even when I knew that that was a vehicle, I couldn't run faster than it, but I still continued running. And at some point, I just saw a cave. That's where I turned from. And at that point, I realized it was a bit difficult for a car to drive past through that. And I kept running until at some point I saw a man. I think that was a security guard guarding some premises somewhere. And that's how, when those guys saw that I met someone ahead of me, and I stopped when I saw that man, like just seeking for help and rescue. That's how those men proceeded and went back and stopped following me. So that was my harassment story. And now every time, because as I earlier explained, running for me is a passion and it's a hobby, something I enjoy doing, but it has brought fear. And since then, I feel I'm limited. I can no longer just wake up at 5 and start my run and just go about my day the way I would want it to be. I just feel limited in a lot of things because every time my alarm goes for 5 and I'm supposed to run, I have to think of brave ways I'm going to put on the road just in case someone comes. What am I going to do? I think that just puts more stress and just the anxiety. I'd still say I don't run as I'm supposed to be, because always I have to think of brave ways on how I'm going to escape that. And that has been my story on street harassment.
Thank you so much, Nelly. I think a lot of women will identify with situations where we felt that we've had to change our behavior because of feeling unsafe in public. And you know, I'm cheering you on Strava in the morning when you do go out for your run. And one thing I love about you, Nelly, is that you refuse to remain silent in the face of this injustice. You know, so tell us a little bit. You know, your heart's broken about this issue. What are you doing to transform this issue in your own community?
Thank you. So what I'm doing basically, first and foremost, I think I'm using the social media. I'm using the media platforms to make people aware of violence against women and girls, and not to be silenced, to speak about and warn people or encourage people out there that's still being cared for. So one of the forms I use to talk about this and just express myself is the Thursdays in Black. As I'm sure you noticed, most of us are in Black today. It just tells us that we're tired and we're looking forward to a day when we'll have zero violence against women and girls. So personally and as an organization, we've joined the Thursdays in Black campaign just to speak up about this violence and see to it that it comes to an end. Apart from it, as a Girls Brigade member, we meet nearly every week, and it's at such platforms and such gatherings that we speak up, and I still speak out against violence against women and girls. And we still join all other global campaigns that are in line with eradicating violence against women and girls.
And Nelly, you are a member of Girls Brigade, a very active member of Girls Brigade in Zambia. And there are people from faith-based organizations that are watching this webinar. What do you think is the role of faith-based organizations in helping end male violence against women and girls?
Thank you. So what I think about the role of faith-based organizations in eradicating violence against women and girls is, as faith-based organizations, we need to be able to create a safe space for everyone, victims, survivors, and just everyone. We should be able to create that safe space. We should be able to create that space where everyone would be free to air their views, connect, and just talk about different issues affecting their lives. And another way for Girls Brigade, as it has all generations, we encourage peer-to-peer mentorship. Girls and women should be able to relate to people of their age and just share and talk about this thing openly and find ways and solutions together. Faith-based organizations also should aim at valuing people, valuing victims, valuing survivors, and empower them, teach them, and just power them on self-esteem. And because we believe when one has self-esteem, they'll be able to speak up, they won't be silent, and a lot of things will move and will fight this injustice together. And as Girls Brigade, one of the things we do is we value people, and we value all people, and we treat them equally. As that's also one of our principles, where all people are equally valued. We promote a just society where all people are equally valued. So for me, faith-based organizations have a role to play, and